Hello everyone, this is Kuroda giving you a shoutcast in a game between MMA versus Slayers MMA versus Empire Violet. Supposedly this was taken from an IEM Intel Esports Masters tournament, but I don't know which one since they really didn't let me know. Anyways, this is game 1 in a series, MMA spawning as the red Terran player over here at the 8 o'clock position. Meanwhile, Violet spawning as the purple Zerg here at the 3 o'clock position. Now, I'm really enjoying the state of the game right now in terms of Terran versus Zerg and all the other matchups, as it really feels like the strategies have really been fleshed out and a lot of players know what's going to be happening and they kind of know what to expect. I would like to see perhaps a little bit more creativity from the players in terms of their strategies, but so far, Cheese doesn't really seem to be all that effective in high-level play. Most likely what we'll see from Empire Violet is some sort of 15 hatchery. Meanwhile, coming in from MMA, supply depot on the front door followed by a barracks. Since this is cross spawns only here on this version of Antigua Shipyard, he wants to make sure that he can wall off just in case there is going to be a sea of Zerglings knocking on the front door. Now we'll see if MMA does go for a 13 gas, and it looks like he will be doing exactly that, going for a 13 gas. And with that 13 gas, he should be going into a reactor Hellion opening. Now Antigua Shipyard is generally a map that a lot of Zerg players normally like. I have heard some Zerg players say like, well, it's easy to get 3 bases, but it's hard to get 4. And at that point, I'm just like, well, you know what? Every map cannot be great for a Zerg to get up to 4 bases on. It does get a little bit more difficult, and all the maps can't be Zerg centric. Yes, Matron, I am talking to you. Actually, no, I don't think Matron actually said that. I think another friend said that. But anyways, we'll see what's happening here as Violet does scout out the additional refinery. The drone and now going to try to sneak away, unable to do exactly that, and now he's going to be forced to do the extractor trick and scout as long as possible. Now, the problem here is that MMA, he could try to train up 1 more Marine, but even with 2 Marines, he really can't destroy this extractor, as the hit points do regenerate faster than 1 Marine can actually take it down. What we'll see most likely is a factory being built, followed by a reactor right here, and then after that reactor is placed down, we are going to see a swap. You can see that there is going to be that 15 hatchery that I mentioned earlier, and it was a pool extractor move. No, it was actually an extractor pool move by Violet, and this is not a typical play. It is a little bit more greedy in trying to get that metabolic boost, but it is also good and strong against dealing with the earlier Hellions, as you will have a movement speed bonus on top of them and be able to get some very good surrounds. Your queens just are a little bit later, and that may hurt the overall production as Violet now tries to train up some more. We can see that we still have 1 Marine trying to work very, very hard to take down this one particular extractor. It doesn't look like any real damage will be done as of yet. Does he see this? Yes, he sees that the reactor is down. He will see the factory in position here as soon as he goes through 1 more cancellation. And does he see it? Yes, he sees the factory, he sees the barracks, and now we also see a command center coming in from MMA. So MMA expanding still. He is going to go into double Hellions. He somehow has enough supply. This is normally a problem for Terran players to not have enough supply. Where is his additional supply depots? Oh, right off over here, and now going to continue to build even more. 2 Hellions now making their way across the ramp and will be able to come into this position here. But Violet already has creep tumors down. He already has 8 Zerglings underway. Speed boost is going to be done in just a second. But I really think that he's not going to have... Oh, what's going to happen here? The Zerglings and the Queens now trying to engage. Zerglings come out at just the right time. One drone now a little bit low on hit points. It does get taken out. The Zerglings do have metabolic boost now and able to surround and capture 1 and 2 of those Hellions. Taking a look at the total losses, 200 versus 161. And most of that was just for scouting information here. We now see Marines being swapped out, and MMA really changing things up. MMA now going into a quick 3rd base, knowing that Violet had gone for a lot more Zerglings early on. The Hellions have to be very careful here. He cannot afford to lose all these Hellions. If he loses these Hellions without dealing enough damage, that is going to really hurt his economy, as the Zerglings may be able to run around freely. The Zerglings, however, unable to really get the necessary damage, and MMA with some brilliant driving on those Hellions survives. MMA now transitioning into tank Marine play. You can see that the second refinery is coming in, and Violet now opting to get additional extractors. So additional extractors, and also going into roaches and banelings. The key question will be the composition. Because MMA is going for siege tanks, he is not going to be able to get stim anytime soon, and no combat shield either. That means that banelings will be able to run into marines, since they are slower, especially when fighting on creep. And you can also see and take a look at all of the creep tumors that Violet currently has laid down. He can continue to spread that creep tumor. He needs to be much more aggressive with this. Not quite sure why he isn't on top of that there, but if he continues to spread, he should be able to capture and flank many of those units. The Zergling is now running straight into some Hellions. The Hellions getting in one easy shot on a Zergling. The Zergling now trying to make its way up the ramp. It will get shot down there, as we now see an engineering bay on the low ground. Currently sitting at 2 siege tanks. A third siege tank should be added. Once these siege tanks go into siege mode, though, this front door will be very difficult to bust. Violet does have 9 roaches, and if these siege tanks are not in siege mode in time, the roaches may fall. Siege tanks now in siege mode, and oh, this is a trap waiting to happen. And the roaches are all just going to get destroyed. Banelings getting destroyed, and wow. And Violet losing much more than he bargained for here, as the roaches... Oh, Banelings, 2 Banelings for an SCV. Not quite sure what Violet was thinking at all, as the siege tanks are now making their way forward. Zergling could have gotten underneath. You can see the Hellions, but Violet really did not deal enough damage to with this attack force here, losing a lot of Banelings and a lot of roaches to some siege tank fire. And those 2 siege tanks up on the high ground was enough to cause a lot of problems. You can now see the roaches trying to battle it up, but all of them were taken out. Let's take a look at the total losses. 2,500 versus 500. And Violet is now in trouble, as he is behind on harvesters, as we also have an additional orbital command dropping in more mules. MMA should be able to get up to 3 bases very quickly. He is just currently supply blocked at 65 over 65. And now it may be a bit of a timing, as we also see level 1 armor upgrades coming in. So MMA at the 11-minute mark or 12-minute mark will be starting level 2 weapons upgrade, which is very fast. And you can just see how well MMA fended off that attack. That attack was rather large. A lot of Banelings, a lot of roaches, a lot of Zerglings, but 2 siege tanks in the right position, able to fend that off, as Violet was simply not expecting that at all. A macro hatch now coming in from Violet. Violet a little bit behind in terms of his upgrades, and we're seeing level 2 weapons upgrade already start, while level 1 weapon and level 1 armor upgrades have yet to be completed, won't be completed for quite some time. And now Violet's going to have to deal with even stimmed Marines and superior upgraded Marines as well. Marines now down on the low ground. Siege tank back over here. Zergling quickly getting destroyed, as there is a siege tank already in position. These siege tanks, the heroes of the game so far, just defending that earlier attack now. And Violet now down by 20 food. We'll see if he can get back into the swing of things, as we have Violet running on 3 bases, and Violet knows that his opponent is also running on 3 bases. So this is a sad day for Violet. Zerg needs to take up a new base. There is currently 1 Hellion off over here. That Hellion may get off a drone kill. Nope, doesn't get the drone kill. Just missed the drone, as we now have more Zerglings just moving to the center portion of the map. Taking a look at the army compositions, 1100 versus 2350. 75 drones versus 63 SCVs. The question will be whether or not Violet will get a large enough group of units. You can see Banelings now being macroed up. There's only 4 larvae on the map, even though we have a number of hatcheries out. 16 hatcheries and only 4 larvae, or now up to 10. That's much better, as he's going to have to train those counter units perfectly. Combat shield is being researched. We are now going into a double medevac drop. Not very good overlord spread coming in from Violet. You can see Violet grouping up all of those overlords here, and that may be the death of him. If he had overlords positioned here and here, he could see these medevacs come in, and if he sees them come in, deal a lot of damage. Zergling's now going after Marines, gonna go ahead and clean them up in the center portion as the Marines now go in for that counterattack, trying to reclaim the center, but in comes the drop. Drop now moving forward, making its way into the main base. Violet trying to get a little bit too clean here, as we now see Spore Crawlers and Spine Crawlers. Second Spine Crawler is off over here. One Spine Crawler will go down. The Spore Crawler is not doing any repairing. The Marines now just all split apart. Banelings now trying to make their way in, but the Banelings, get all picked up just in time. And what we may see is perhaps a Spore Crawler could have focused down one of the medevacs. No, it does not go down, as Zerglings are now surrounding the center portion here. Zerglings now making their way, perhaps going to deal some damage to the siege tanks. One more siege tank does go down, and MMA now looking to do a counter push, as he does have a 50 food advantage. Worker kill 12-3. Violet now behind in terms of workers and also behind in terms of army. Things are not looking good. MMA moving out with a rather superior army, 2-2 upgraded army now. And this is going to be key, whether or not the infestors come out in time to get off those get off those fungal growths to stop these groups of Marines. We do see a Thor also out as well. What is going to be happening here? The infestors are now making their way out. Will this be a beautiful? Yes, it is. Able to get off one fungal growth, a second fungal growth coming in. Banelings, however, unable to do anything there. The Marines are now trying to pull back again. Zerglings now trying to swarm in. Are we going to get another fungal? Yes, fungal and infested Terrans up on the high ground. Perhaps more fungals could be coming in. The infestors need to back off, and 3 low hit point infestors is all that he has left. This is not looking good. Violet most likely will just lose all of those infestors here, as now some low hit point siege tanks and Marines make their way forward. That siege tank perhaps should be in the further back position, but that siege tank somehow still staying alive. Zerglings making their way towards the target, finishing off a couple more, but the Marines are pretty much going unchallenged in the third base, and Violet says GG. So Violet losing game 1 in this series. Stay tuned for game 2.